Hi guys, Mahir Nisar here from the Nisar Law Group. So I want to make these videos because I can't speak to everyone. There's only just so much time in the day and there's so much I am able to do. So here's the thing. I want to be able to give everyone some information so that way they can figure this out for themselves. Self-sufficiency at this point is something to rely upon. It's so important that whatever information I impart to you, if you have questions regarding that, I'm happy to answer those because that way I can build upon a foundation of information. So first thing, if you're a small business, you should be applying for the EIDL emergency grant. That grant is a part of a larger loan that you can apply for, but the first step is to apply for this grant so you get the funds that are apparently supposed to happen in 3 days after you fulfill that application. It's a very streamlined process, which is really refreshing for any kind of application dealing with giving you any kind of money. So it's really good. But here's the thing. Once you go through that, there's certain questions within it that you may have questions about. Now, the first page, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. The second page, it talks about what specific numbers you want to put in there in terms of your revenue and in terms of the cost of goods. So you probably want to ask your accountant whether cost of goods, that you have to specify that specific number for that if you have a cost of goods. Not every business has a cost of goods, and that's what accountants have told me. Because I'm not an accountant, I'm an attorney, but I'm looking at these forms, I'm looking at information that you have to put in there in order to be able to qualify for this specific grant. So you're going to go through that process, have questions about something in there. This is something that you ask your accountants and financial tax preparers for, so they can guide you on the terminology as far as that goes. After that form is filled out, hopefully, according to the confirmation, you get 3 days. It takes 3 days for them to deposit the money into the bank account. Now, I've heard from an attorney who actually found out on the 4th day that the money was on their account. And so she called the SBA and found out when she spoke to one of their officials that they received the application, but she has to speak to them first in order for it to get processed. So a little confusing. Obviously, that's just one person, so I'm not too sure whether there's any merit to it or perhaps they made a mistake in the process. But it certainly causes concern because the 72-hour deadline, per se, is something that they had advised was as a part of this process. So if they're deviating away from it or they're just not ready for it, well, here's the thing. It seems like it's not working, and so it should probably start working pretty soon. The other aspect to look into is the PPP. It's the Paycheck Protection Program, which is essentially based upon your payroll, based upon who you pay as employees and what type of employment compensation you give. So you got to make sure when you look at that application, you understand the specific types of different forms of payroll types that you exist. There's commissions, there's tips, all forms of different forms of payment to your employees that you want to make sure are part of your payroll. And so the payroll costs are defined by 12 months, not a calendar year. It's not 12 months, 12 months prior to essentially when the loan is made. Now, technically the loan isn't made until you apply for it and they actually approve it. So I'm not too sure how they use this terminology, but that's what's within the application. And so I think there is a lot of confusion about who made this form, how they made it. And I think it's causing a lot of confusion. I think that's kind of what they want to do. So guys, if you're confused, don't give up. Fill out the application and put it in. There's going to be people that are going to make mistakes, but it's their obligation to call you to find out if perhaps something is missing to correct it. So let's put that on them. Let's not focus on us. So you file that payroll protection plan, the Paycheck Protection Plan program application in, and that's essentially meant to provide you 2.5 times your payroll costs. And up to, I think, depending on how you use it, because you can use it for rent, mortgage obligation, interest, etc., but you're supposed to at least use 75% towards your payroll costs, and that way you can then be qualifying for the forgiveness of the total amount, which is huge, right? So that's something you gotta look out for. Now, there's something separate. Now, as a part of that initial grant that I talked about through the website, definitely go to that website. The SBA website has that link. Make sure you apply for that. After you apply for that, I think at that point, there's going to be a separate application, a more expensive application to apply for EIDL loans. And that's the loan for the economic injury disaster loan, from which you can get a low interest loan over a certain period of time. Now, it depends on whether you qualify, what they're going to need. They're going to probably need a lot of information from us. They haven't really put out an application on that specifically to see whether what is required, but you can expect that it's going to be comprehensive. So that's the current situation in terms of those things. New York City obviously has the Employee Retention Grant program that exists. I put in that application myself, and that application is something that's still pending. I got a confirmation yesterday, so we'll see how quickly they turn around on that. And in terms of, there's another loan for businesses that are located in New York City, and that is for the business continuity loan. And that's for up to 99 employees. If you have a business that has fewer than 99 employees, you'll be able to qualify for that specific loan, which is up to $75,000. If you qualify for the other aspects that are on the website that specify. And it's kind of, if you apply for one, you automatically can apply for the other, which is pretty cool because then it saves time putting in the same type of information, which is whatever the criteria that they have defined as what they're going to use to approve or deny your application. So I don't know exactly how this is going to come out. There's all new stuff, right? I'm only analyzing what I'm seeing. I'm looking at the forms. I'm looking at the information. I'm putting it in, looking at how the protocol goes. And on that basis, we're looking at how it's going to pan out. So if you have any questions, feel free to direct message me. Happy to help you. Take care.